much thanks to Tony and to Dalton State for letting me stand up here for a couple of quick minutes. I think I wanted to show you that just so you would know that I'm real and not Memorex. That's a really cool movie that I'm really very proud of, and it's going to be opening nationwide in select cities and theaters and on all on-demand platforms December 4th. And it was a wonderful thing to make that movie. Every movie, we've heard a lot about dreams tonight. Every movie is a dream. Some movies are nightmares. But every movie starts out as just an idea. And then it takes the form of a screenplay, which is 110 pages long, double-spaced, and then it becomes a budget, and then it becomes a schedule, and then you hire actors, and then you direct the film, and eventually it's on a screen in Dalton, Georgia, and you're hoping that a few people go see it. But it just starts out as a dream, kind of a preposterous dream. And I do have a dream to make a movie about Tony Ingle because I love that man. You love that man. I know you do because I can tell when he's up here how we all feel about him. They broke the mold when they made Tony Ingle. And if Tony were up here, he'd say, darn good thing they did. But I want to make a movie about Tony. And I've been after it for about 4 years. Some of you have seen me a few times before. I happened to be in the locker room before, during, and after the Georgia Tech game that was fantastically won years ago. And why do I want to make a movie about Tony? Because he's going to make me look so darn good as a writer. Because the things that come out of his mouth, no screenwriter in the world is good enough to cook up. I mean, you've heard of a few of me here tonight. I mean, we were there at the halftime, and he's looking at his boys, and he's, now listen, don't you quit now, don't you quit. It ain't over till the fat lady farts. And that means she done sang, went home, ate, and had time to think about it. And there are a few other things that he said that I can't repeat here. But Tony Ingle is a boy who was born with a deformed face and spent his boyhood in poverty, receiving several operations to correct the deformation in his face. That's a scene in the movie. This little boy wakes up in a hospital bed. His mother's asleep in a chair at the end of the bed. He sneaks out of bed, his face covered in gauze, just a little couple of eye holes and mouth hole, and goes to the nurse who has a basketball that she lets him dribble when he gets bored. And he dribbles past the hallways, he's around the back between his legs, and he sees a beautiful little girl in a room adjacent to his with a doctor and parents consulting nearby. The girl turns, and then Tony sees that the other half of her face is completely burned away. They share a look, they share a moment. They're two fellow travelers, innocent, beautiful little children in a world that isn't always very kind. But Tony figures out that even if his face isn't perfect, the basketball is. It's perfectly round. And every time you push it down, it bounces back up to the same height you pushed it from, maybe even higher. And that becomes a metaphor for his life. I don't know how many of you know the story, and I don't have time to tell you here, but if I could, you would all cry, you would all laugh, you would all be inspired by the kid who couldn't afford basketball shoes until he fished two that didn't fit out of a trash can and an empty locker when school was out. and stuffed newspaper in the toe big shoes so it would fit the other, and tried to not run floppy up and down the court. The stories never end. And we're going to do it. We're going to make this movie. So I'm here looking for partners, and that's what you always do when you make movies. You find partners. You ever go see a movie, even when Disney does a movie, it's got 20 executive producers. Those are all people who take out their wallets and help Disney, who just can't afford to make a movie themselves, get a movie made. But I just want you to know, more than anything, how much I love Tony Ingle and his family, and how much I love the place that they've come from. Tony drove me around. I've seen the neighborhood where he stopped smoking when he was 3. I've seen the home he lived in, where he sat on the sink and watched the basketball players leave practice after he'd been cut from the team because he couldn't afford shoes and the coach wouldn't let him play barefoot. I've seen the gymnasium where the janitor used to leave the top window unlocked so Tony could sneak in late at night and hoop it up himself barefoot. I've seen those places, and they're a part of me, and they will someday be a part of the cultural fabric of our nation. Tony alluded to that briefly. I've been in Dalton, Georgia, when times were good and when times were bad. When people had a lot of work and a lot of money, when people didn't have nearly enough. That's the way our whole country is. And the metaphor of a ball that bounces back up, no matter how hard you push it down, in the person of the guy who said to the referee, "Hey, ref, tell me, are you using a Phillips head or a flat head?" Think about it. "Hey, ref, I got a question. Can you give me a technical for what I'm thinking?" "Well, no, because I think you're a son of a..." You can't not love Tony, and you can't not admire Tony, and you can't not admire the place and the people from whence he sprang. So I'm real. I'm real, and this movie is real, and the movie we're going to make about Tony will be real, and it will be good for this town and for the country, because Tony has the capacity to inspire and entertain, not necessarily in that order. Thank you very much.